Now, I want to dive into the whole situation of Kendrick getting called out for what many are saying is his lack of real influence on the rap game. Some of y'all have probably seen the conversation already, while others might be hearing about it for the first time. Kendrick Lamar was trending recently after a leaked phone call surfaced where Young Thug was heard criticizing Kendrick for not putting other artists on. I'm not playing the audio here, but let's break down what Thug said and why it caused such a reaction. The call was from 2023, recorded while Thug was locked up during the RICO case, and it instantly lit up discussions online. And yes, this isn't the first time Kendrick has faced this type of scrutiny either. For years, people have compared the way he moves to Drake's approach. Drake is always collaborating, constantly helping new artists blow up, and staying tapped into whatever wave is trending. Kendrick, though, has always carved out his legacy differently. He's more isolated, focused on his own craft and inner circle instead of doing endless features. So let's go into what Young Thug actually said. First, Thug claimed he reached out to Kendrick for a verse on his album in 2023 while he was still in jail. He says Kendrick declined, and Thug definitely wasn't happy. He then compared Kendrick to Drake, saying Drake puts people on, works with everyone, and changes lives with a single feature, which isn't exactly untrue. Meanwhile, in Thug's eyes, Kendrick keeps his circle tight. That's why, according to him, Kendrick will never be bigger than Drake a day in his life. Thug also name-dropped Lil Baby, Lil Durk, and himself as the real superstars, and said Kendrick should have hopped on a track with him. He even brought up Baby Keem, who's currently laying low. Keem is Kendrick's cousin, for those who don't know, and Thug said Kendrick mostly sticks to working with him, then threw shade by calling Keem a Keem. He also insisted that Kendrick never truly put Keem on, which is a wild statement in itself. But that wasn't all. In the leaked audio, Thug claimed that Kendrick working with him or artists in his lane would help Kendrick's credibility and make him more likable outside core hip-hop listeners. He even said the East Coast doesn't really rock with Kendrick like that. On top of that, Thug mocked Kendrick for barely using social media, saying if he's not going to be active, he might as well delete his pages instead of pretending he's too offline, which, okay, that's something. Something else fans started talking about outside of Thug's rant was Kendrick's Euphoria diss toward Drake. There's a line where Kendrick says, "I know something that make Gunna look like a saint." People speculated whether that was aimed at Young Thug, considering Thug was exposed for cooperating with police and essentially snitching, something that tanked his street reputation. I'm not saying it's confirmed, but the line was so specific there's a real chance it was directed at him, especially since it involved Gunna. So overall, Thug did not hold back. He criticized Kendrick for denying a feature, compared him to Drake, threw shots at Baby Keem for no reason, claimed the East Coast doesn't mess with Kendrick, and mocked his whole social media persona. But this video isn't about Young Thug's ranting, it's more about Kendrick. So let's talk. Even though Kendrick is one of rap's most respected and decorated artists, one of the biggest criticisms he's gotten, outside of his actual rapping ability, is that he doesn't put people on. This conversation has been happening for years, but over the last 2 years, it has gotten louder. People say Kendrick is selfish, that he doesn't really give back to the culture, that his influence isn't as strong as fans claim. And most of that stems from his lack of features, and the fact that he hasn't directly birthed a generation of artists the way someone like Lil Wayne did. With Wayne, you can see clear offspring. With Kendrick, not so much. Drake is always the main comparison. Drake builds his whole brand around cosigns, collaborations, and staying plugged into whatever's next. Thug just repeated what people have already been saying, but let's not pretend Kendrick hasn't opened doors for people. There's J-Rock, there's Schoolboy Q, and then there's CZE, who's one of the biggest pop/R&B stars today. All these artists came up under TDE, Kendrick's former label, and they've publicly credited him for boosting their careers. Schoolboy Q literally said Kendrick saved his life. He connected him to Dr. Dre, which ended up securing his record deal. SZA said Kendrick put her on All the Stars, which became one of the biggest soundtrack records ever. Kendrick even put Kodak Black all over Mr. Morale as the narrator. At the time, Kodak was fresh off legal trouble, and Kendrick caught a ton of backlash for shining a spotlight on him. But that shows he's not afraid to go against public opinion for someone he believes in. Then there's Baby Keem. Long before he blew up, he was working on the Black Panther soundtrack, an opportunity that came through Kendrick. Keem still had to grind on his own, but Kendrick opened the door. Yes, these are all people in Kendrick's orbit, not necessarily family, except Keem, but still artists who rose alongside him at TDE. Outside of that, on his newest album, GNX, Kendrick filled most of the track list with underground LA artists. I'll be honest, I didn't know any of them before seeing the features, and that was the same for most listeners. Many fans believe Kendrick stacked the album with unknown LA talent on purpose, almost as a direct response to all the criticism about him not putting people on. And we can't ignore the pop-out show on Juneteenth. Kendrick brought out practically the entire city, underground rappers, local stars, legends, everyone. It was basically a live example that he cares about uplifting his city, even if he doesn't do it the way Drake does. But ironically, one of the rappers Kendrick included on GNX ended up fueling the criticism even more, out of spite. LA artist Dodie Six went on Instagram Live a few months back and had a full meltdown about his situation. He said that even after being on Kendrick's album, he was still broke, homeless, and admitted he was using meth. While spiraling, he called Kendrick a botch and said the song Hey Now didn't change his life at all. In his exact words, all he gained from it was clout, and he said, F clout.
Nigga, I lost my house. Nigga, I'm homeless. Nigga, the song with Kendrick ain't changed. Nigga, the fuck is that change? Nigga, I'm still from 40s. I'm still over here. Nigga, you act like a nigga got $1 million for that shit. Nigga, the nigga let you nigga got some clout. Nigga, if clout nigga, on the day homies. Nigga.
To make matters even worse, Dodie Six went on to say that doing a song with Kendrick didn't change anything for him. He claimed, I'm still from the 40s, I'm still a gangbanger, I'm still right here, y'all act like I got $1 million for that feature. According to him, the only thing he received was clout. And he made it clear he didn't care about that at all. In the middle of this meltdown, he even texted Adam22, basically asking him to post about his situation, openly admitting he was using meth, and once again calling Kendrick a bitch. But only a few days later, he completely reversed his stance and apologized on his Instagram story. He wrote, I want to publicly apologize to Kendrick Lamar for calling cause A, he is nowhere near that and has done nothing but bless me. The irony is wild. The one time Kendrick stacks an album with a lineup of underground artists, one of them ends up turning around and attacking him for the very opportunity he was given. And while we don't know if this directly explains why Kendrick avoids working with a bunch of different names, especially lesser-known ones, it definitely highlights one of the risks. When you help someone and give them a chance, it's common for them to later feel like you owed them more, even when nothing was promised. It actually reminds me of something Jay-Z said years ago, that most of the problems people have with him come from what he didn't do for them, not from anything he actually did to them.
When you hear people's gripe against me, it's always about what I didn't do for them. They don't say I did anything to them. They said I didn't do something for them.
The sad reality is that a lot of artists never fully take advantage of the chances they're given. And when things don't work out the way they pictured, suddenly it becomes someone else's responsibility. Even Drake has faced this same issue. The difference, though, is that for Drake, it's a strategic exchange. He lifts artists up because it directly fuels his own relevance. He feeds off their momentum, taps into their energy, and uses that connection to stay aligned with whatever wave is buzzing at the moment. And in return, he gains from having their fan base attached to him. That's why his approach works. But I've always felt that Kendrick's influence shows up differently. It's not that he has less impact just because he isn't out here doing 1,000 features or constantly co-signing people. For Kendrick, it's about building from within rather than dragging things from the outside toward him. And that works for him because he naturally comes across as introverted and reflective, not someone who chases the spotlight. So I don't agree with downplaying his contributions simply because he doesn't focus on that lane. It's the same way I don't agree with people calling Drake not of the culture, just because he won't sit down with certain hip-hop media platforms. Nobody owes anyone a feature or an interview. And honestly, a lot of that criticism comes from platforms that want Drake to answer tough questions so they can watch him slip and rack up clicks. It makes zero sense for him to sit with people who openly want to see him crumble. Why would he give them that? The entertainment industry has always been a selfish arena. People aren't in it out of pure generosity. Everyone is trying to secure their own position and focus on what actually benefits them. For some artists, the smartest path is creating meaning through their message rather than constant visibility. Because one thing heavy collaboration brings is non-stop exposure. And Kendrick isn't built that way. He's like a light switch. When it's time, he appears. But when he's not on tour, promoting an album, or rolling out a project, he disappears until the next moment that matters, and that's intentional. It's the complete opposite of how Drake moves. And that's fine, because neither method is wrong. Every artist is different, and none of them need to follow some imaginary rulebook created by the culture police. If they did, neither of these massively successful artists would even be in the position they're in today. So, trying to downplay Kendrick's influence just because he doesn't operate like Drake from a collaboration standpoint doesn't sit right with me. It feels like people are ignoring his individuality just to justify weak criticism. But hey, what do I know, right? If you've stuck around this long, I really appreciate you. Drop a like on this video if you enjoyed it. My name is Blackie Speaks. Nice to meet you. What are your thoughts on Kendrick being called out? I'm genuinely interested, so let me know down in the comments. I'll catch you in the next one. I'm out.